Hi, welcome everyone to 2026. Even though this video is probably going to release on like 10th of January or whatever, we are still in the new year, so hopefully you are doing fine. And to kick things off, we are going to be doing another Extreme Demon tutorial. Why AQ? Because it's another one of those beginner Extreme Demons that a lot of people beat as their first Extreme Demon, and so I figured it's a pretty good time to do it. Anyways, let's jump into it. Right, so first things first, I always grab the ULDM, just because it makes the level actually ever so slightly more visible. Because this level is, yeah, it kinda uses a lot of decoration. So if you want to make things easier for yourself, just grab the ULDM. About the level actually. So yeah, this orb is pretty self-explanatory. You just hit it in the middle. This here is quite interesting because you are going to bonk your head on the ceiling. So what you want to do is just go very close to the spike and then tap. That's it. You don't have to hold, you don't have to do anything else. Go close to the spike and then click, that's it. These 3 clicks are again rather easy, although you cannot buffer the first one. You can buffer the second one, but if you buffer the first one, yeah, this will happen. So click it early and then buffer the next one. The only timing here is the third orb. You have to click it sorta late, so I would recommend just clicking all the orbs in the middle. Boom, 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 like that. If you click this like way too early, this is what happens. So you want to make sure to click these orbs in the middle. This click, again, pretty self-explanatory. There aren't really any tricks. You just have to click it as you are about to just fall from the block, and that's it. This is actually pretty interesting. You cannot like buffer the click. You cannot click it very early because you have to wait until the cube touches the pad and then you click the orb like that. Once again, buffer and then wait until the cube touches the pad and then click the blue orb. This part is, you can use some visual cues because as you can see there is an HV written down. If you click as soon as you're about to touch the E in HV, the second E, that's where you want to aim to click. So like here, around that, let's show it in speed hack. You want to click right around this territory. You can hit it sorta early, but you cannot hit it too late. If you click it directly on the E, you will not make it, but if you click it right before, you will make it. So that's actually the first tip, is just use that visual cue for this jump. This jump is kinda annoying. With the visual cue, it becomes like 100% consistent. Next part, again, you have to wait ever so slightly on the first 2 clicks. This level is very straightforward, so there aren't that many tips, but there will be some tips later on, that's for sure. Wait a bit, then click the blue orb. You want to click it pretty early, like you can. It's another one of those clicks that you can click almost as early as you can, but you just have to give it ever so slightly that timing. So boom boom. Not like boom boom, but boom boom. This part is actually interesting. You can use some skip that I actually recommend. So you fall into the orb. Another one of the orbs you cannot buffer, but you can click it super early. You don't have to like click it here. You can even click it like here. You can pretty much buffer it, as I said. But here is an interesting part. So you can do the same thing here, but you can also jump from the block. And I actually find jumping from the block way easier, just because you don't have to actually do the yellow orb timing. So I recommend just, after you are past the spike, just jump from the platform, and you are always going to make it. Here, this orb is a buffer click, no real tricks to it, just buffer the click. Here, it's sort of sync based, but I don't recommend using song as sync in this because it's kinda offset as well. You can buffer the first ball click, so I definitely recommend that. If there is going to be a buffer click, I will say this for now for future videos, always do a buffer. If there is a possibility to do a buffer, don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it, just always do a buffer click. Time everything in the middle, as I said for the previous part. So buffer 1, 2, 3. Here's another skip I definitely recommend once again. So normally what you would do is do something like this, jump into the block and then go down. I actually find that pretty inconsistent because this cube timing is pretty hard. So you can totally avoid that just by clicking once like that. And it's another skip that I highly recommend doing, and especially after you made it past the ball. You just click at the last second of the platform and then you avoid the cube portal, and it's way more consistent than actually going through the block. And then you just buffer this blue orb. Right, let's actually do the full thing now. And And that's the first part. It's actually very consistent. You just need to know a few skips that you can use, which as I will say once again, I recommend doing. It just makes the part way more consistent. Next part. So this is where the level gets a little bit more tricky. Here you can actually buffer the next click, but you have to be in the middle of the first timing. So align yourself once you're past the spike and then just hold down the button. Kinda middle towards late and then hold the button. Click the yellow, yellow orb. Click the green orb late. And then you have this wave which is very easy. There is just 3 clicks. Fall into the portal and then do 3 easy sweeping strokes for the wave. So fall into the portal, 1, 2, 3. This next part is the first part. I would say you would be dying to a bunch. So yeah, the first click here, super easy, and you can practically buffer again. The very beginning here is super easy. These first clicks, jump, enter the portal, and then click the blue orb. Here, however, these jumps are kinda annoying. I don't like these jumps in the slightest. I think this part is actually pretty difficult in the pre-drop. You can see you have these gaps in between the spikes. Kinda want to align your cube with the middle of the gap. You don't want to be too far to the left or too far to the right. Being like perfectly in the center will make this part actually consistent. So I'll actually show you the example. Middle, and then I will try to go early and see that's what happens. So try to align yourself with the cube with the middle of these spikes, and this will be consistent. Middle, middle. The next part is here you cannot align yourself with the middle because you are going to hit the block. You can see there is this blue and yellow matching, so as soon as you are going to touch the yellow part of the platform, you just click. So like here. Boom. That's another visual cue I recommend using for this. It's pretty easy. And if you do that, you can actually hold the button for the next part. And now, this is where the fun begins. I find this part to be pretty difficult actually. One of the harder parts of the pre-drop for sure. We want to jump late into the portal because we are going to be switching sizes, and if we click too early, your cube won't have enough momentum to go above the spike. So click it as late as you can and you will succeed. And now this timing here, there aren't really any tricks, it's just a very hard timing. You just have to practice it. Like as I said, there aren't any visual cues you can use because the lines are the same. You just kinda click that in the middle and then proceed to the next portal. Next up we have a quadruple click combo, and it does seem a bit off-putting at first, but really what you do is you click all of these orbs right in the middle. If you try to go like early, you won't ever make it. You have to click every orb in the very middle. Middle, middle, middle. So, middle, 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 and then you can pretty much click the pink orb whenever you want to. So once again, middle, 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 and then pretty much whenever you want to. And then this part here is actually pretty interesting. You are riding this blue orb. This part is interesting in a way because you can actually clip through the block if you hold down the button. So if you click immediately, you won't actually do it. But if you click in the block here, you can actually hold down the button, as you can see. So you could hold down the button and then click in the middle like that. But I actually recommend doing something different, like being closer to the spike, being like sorta close to the spike, and then click the next orb a split second after, or something like that. So let's actually showcase this in the normal speed. So you could hold down the button like in the block, or you could do 2 clicks like that, or do like that. It's a preference thing. I usually do 2 clicks close to the spike, but if you find that treacherous, I should say, then hold in the block and then do another click in the middle. Here, same thing. You go in the middle, and then you actually have a yellow portal here, and that's going to be adding some extra element of challenge. So middle, and then you want to click after you enter the yellow portal. Middle, and then you cannot buffer this click. You have to do another middle click. So you do 3 middle clicks here. Middle. A lot of space here, but you have to get used to the gimmick. And then the ending of this part is probably the easiest actually. All you do is you click on the block, land here, and then do another middle click. Here, and then another middle click. So let's actually do the entire part right now. That's it. That part is fairly challenging, definitely more challenging than the first 7%. It does get very consistent. You just need to make sure to find the visual cues and also click actually a lot of the timings in the very middle. I find with these easy extreme demons, a lot of the timings are very similar in a sense that you just click them in the very middle. They aren't like super late or super early, they're just kinda in between. Anyways, next part is super easy. All you do is you quite literally hold down the button until you are on the yellow orb. So yeah, hold the button and then click the yellow orb. Late is kinda the only orb so far that you actually click late. If you click it in the middle, you can actually clip in the block like that, so you actually have to click it late. That's one of the few late timings in the beginning. And then here, another bonking your head. So again, being close to the spike and then clicking. So yeah, close to the spike, click, and then we are to the very end of the pre-drop now. This pink orb is free. I mean, you can actually buffer it. Oh yeah, so you can even buffer the pink orb. It's that easy. So you just buffer the pink orb. And then here, same thing, you can literally buffer this blue orb. Okay, this section is actually way easier than I thought. Buffer the blue orb, and then this part is, yeah, the ending of the pre-drop can be annoying, because you have these orbs in the portals and pads. So what you do is, again, you want to first hit both the portal and the pad. So if you click before you enter the portal, your cube will just not make it. So enter the portal and then click like that. Here it's the same thing. If you click before you enter the pad, your cube will just fall down. So pad, pass, kinda like that. You pass the portal, pass the pad, and then pass another pad, and you are through once again. Boom, 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 like that. And you want to hit those very early, like pretty much as soon as you pass the pads and the portal, you click. That's it. And then the ending, I actually think it's the hardest skill-wise. Yeah, the ending of the pre-drop is actually pretty difficult skill-wise. There is like a timing like that where you have to click super late. The first timing you buffer, and then you could theoretically buffer the green orb as well. I don't recommend it because you can land weirdly from the blue portal. Click the green orb ever so slightly late. Not too late, but ever so slightly late. Buffer, late, buffer. And then you click the blue orb in the middle. So middle and then buffer click again. So you jump in between the spikes in the middle and then you buffer the blue orb. And now this part, yeah, this green orb. This green orb is pretty brutal because you transition super fast and you have to click it very late. So again, a middle timing and a very late, very late green orb. You have to click it. Like, the only tip is to focus on clicking that green orb late. This blue orb is kind of the same principle as the green orb. You have to just click it very late. So again, try to focus on clicking it late. This green orb is whatever. You can pretty much buffer it. And boom, that's the pre-drop of AQ. It's a part that's not that hard skill-wise, but you definitely need to grind the consistency in order to actually get to the difficult parts. Finding the visual cues and knowing when you can buffer and when you can actually click in the middle. The beginner extreme demons have a lot of buffer clicks, so definitely make sure to use a buffer click when there is a possibility to use a buffer click. And now the meat and potatoes. Here, there aren't really any tips for the wave, you just have to practice it. It's very short, but it will definitely kill you a few times. So definitely make sure to practice this from start positions a lot, so you can get ready for it. And if you actually manage to get the consistency in the pre-drop, you will be getting here pretty much every single attempt, so you need to just have the muscle memory for the wave. The only thing I would say is to hold on the blue orb for way longer than you think. Like, if you just do a tiny click, you won't make it. Just because this is a moving object, make sure to hold on the blue orb for a long time. Like that. That was actually too long, but if you do a super tiny input, you will just not pass it. So, longer than you think. These two clicks they just need to be spread out a little bit. Like, if you just buffer them, this is what happens. Kinda in the middle, as I said. Again, a lot of middle timings in this level. And then the ending of the wave is purely skill-based. There aren't really any tips, there aren't any hitboxes, and there aren't any visual cues you could use. Okay, now, this part is... Actually, I found this part to be more difficult than the wave itself, just because it's so sudden. Like, you suddenly change into the spider with 3 times speed. You go close to the spike, and then hold down the button with the cube on the pads, like that. The very beginning is really easy. Now, for this spider part, we have to go very late into the black orb, because the black orb is a very fast orb. So if you just go like early, if you go early like that, you won't make it. So you want to make sure to go late and then hold with the momentum. Like, you don't have to do 2 clicks because the black orb will automatically teleport you to the ceiling. So just hold on the black orb. And this timing here is, yeah, another middle timing. So let's do this part in 1, just because I feel like it's fairly hard. So yeah, hold for long on the blue orb, hold here, and then go in the middle. 26 to 32 is fairly difficult, especially in the beginning phases of playing the level. As I said, practice it a lot from start positions. Moving on to the next drop part. This part is very weird gameplay wise, but it's actually not that difficult. So all you do is you don't mash the button. I see a lot of times people just come here and they just do something like this. You have to press it very steadily. You actually have a lot of time here, but the level is going quite fast, so it kind of tricks you into thinking you don't have that much time, but you have a lot of time. Again, 2 middle clicks, because if you go too early, there's a black orb, and it's specifically there to prevent you from buffering the green orb. So 2 middle clicks, middle, and then you are going to be perfectly set up for the next part. Remember what I said about the pad timing. So here it's exactly the same. Wait when your cube is about to pass the pad. So hit the pad. You can actually buffer these 2 orbs. Like, look, boom, boom. So those 2 orbs are buffers. You can do that, or you can just do them ever so slightly late. This part is pretty easy. You just buffer the 2 clicks after you are entering the pads. And this section it slows down and it kind of carries the momentum with you. You do it slowly. You don't want to mash the button like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The only hard timing here is the green orb, because you have to be past the platform for it to actually work. If you're going to hit it very early, this is what happens. It will just launch you on the spike. So 1, 2, 3, and then go past the block in order to actually make it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All of the other clicks are super easy. I think even the black orb is even a buffer click, the last one. You just need to make sure to not spam. A lot of the times when you're learning these levels and your first time doing some extreme demons, you tend to just press way more buttons than you actually have to do. Alright, next part. So this transition is super easy. Just a buffer click and a very easy timing. You can also buffer this click. The robot height is not that important here, because there is quite literally an extra pad on each of the blue pads. There's an invisible pad, so it doesn't matter when you will click that. It's super lenient. Buffer. So you buffer all of the timings here. That's it. Is actually that easy. Look, I'm going to be buffering all of the clicks. I'm buffering all of the clicks and it works. It's actually, you have so much time. Let's try to do it all in one go. Boom, that part is rather actually chill. The part coming up is, yeah, here are some timings. This is a part that you will die to a bunch. You just have to practice it a lot. As I said for the very beginning of the wave, for the beginning of the drop, I should say. This is kinda like that, but there are actually some extra timings you have to be aware of. This platform is a buffer click, and now this orb combo is hard. All of these timings, I recommend clicking late, except for the pink dash orb, which you can buffer click. And on the green orb, you go late and then you hold from the platform to go. You don't want to do 2 clicks, because that actually takes a lot of effort. Late, hold, buffer. That part will take some muscle memory to get used to. You will actually be passing that a lot, but it feels really awful at first. Alright, and now a big choke point. There isn't any really trick for that. You just have to brute force the consistency. Like when there's a choke point in a level, usually you just have to brute force it. Even though you have quite a good bunch of space here, it's still pretty hard for the difficulties. You can do 2 ways. You can do it with 1 swing and then buffer the 2 yellow orbs, or you can do a swing and then click in the middle of the spikes. It's a preference thing. I usually do a safety click in between the spikes, but you could also do this with 1 swing. Like, it depends what actually suits you better. So boom, and I do an extra click and then you buffer the 2 clicks. That part is hard, that's going to eat up a lot of attempts. Duel in this level is actually very easy. That's good, because if it was hard, then yeah, a hard duel part is usually pretty annoying, and in this level this duel is very easy. So what you do, you buffer the yellow orb, click the dash orbs in the middle, and then you just wait. Look how much space you have. you don't click anything until the cubes touch the platform. So yeah, here, boom, and then you buffer all of these clicks. The duel is stupidly easy, which is good. That's another consistent part. The only timing you could die to is the dasher thing. Just make sure to not click it early. That's literally it. Buffer middle, hold, hold, hold. You can pretty much buffer everything except for the dash or timings. This spider I am not a big fan of because the moving objects happen and kinda throws you off, not gonna lie. So what you want to do is you want to aim again for the middle. The first entrance click is a buffer click. The next two are middle clicks. Buffer and then two middle clicks, but the platform is, I will show you in speed hack. Platform is bouncing you here. So it can actually throw you off. As I said, you don't want to go too early on the second input either because there is an extra big spike. This big spike is really annoying. Buffer middle middle. This part is very hard. This part is one of the harder parts of the level skill wise. The cube click is super easy. You can just jump whenever you want. You can jump early, you can jump late, it's going to be the same every single time. And then the UFO clicks, again, two middle clicks, that's it. And then the wave. Again, there aren't any tips I can give you for the wave. It isn't like with Cataclysm where you could count your clicks because there's only two clicks you should do. This wave is kind of a choke point. You have a lot of time to actually fall into the portal. Look, I am not pressing anything, I can press even here. And there is a soul blade here, so if you go too early for the transition, you will hit that. Fall into the portal and then do two clicks. Alright, let's actually come back and do this in full. It has the two choke points, so the part overall is pretty easy. The two choke points make it kinda hard. This part here is, a lot of the timings here are actually late. The first click, I don't even recommend going for a middle. Like if you go for a middle, this is what happens usually. So yeah, late timing, actually one of the few. Same here, but this is way easier. Here you have this whole ass slope to get onto. And here you can pretty much click this in the middle actually, so yeah. Middle, and then it's actually pretty cool because the next click you just buffer. So you go late, middle, buffer. It's kind of like downgrading the clicks. If you click this immediately, you will just jump with a ball, and that's not what we want to. Transition from the ball portal and then click. Transition and then click. You can click this immediately, but you have to transition from the portal. If you don't transition and you click immediately, you will just jump. These two clicks are late, and these are hard, yeah. You go late on both of these. Late, middle buffer, late, late, late. This is a buffer click, and then I despise this yellow orb. It's a late timing, but you transition from the pad, so you just have to readjust immediately after you enter it. Another late timing. This UFO click is pretty easy actually. You just transition and click. You can even go super early like that, and you will survive. So transition and click. That UFO part, it's the one click. And yeah, that UFO click is really easy. And then another wave part, I actually find this way more consistent than the previous two clicks. It's still hard, but I found this to be more consistent than the previous parts for some reason. 1, 2, go in the middle of the soul blades. This part here, again, you click the portals in the middle after you are past the portals initially. Because if you go before the portal, this is what happens. You have to go through the portal and then click the orb. After portal and then after portal, although you want to make sure you click the black orb way later than you think, because even if you pass the portal loop, you can clip into the mini spike. So actually on the black orb, have a bit more time. You do a tiny click for the robot and then do a max height jump from the quadruple speed. A little click, wait a bit, and then do a max height jump on the robot. So 1, wait, and then max height jump. How you do this part is, you can also do this in a different way, which I don't recommend in the slightest. You could click the first red orb super late and then only click the 3. I found that to be very inconsistent. I always click both of the red orbs and then continue with the pink. Click early the red orbs. You don't have to even buffer them. Like, you can just click them early and then focus on clicking the pink orbs late. Early, early, late, late, late. Alright, let's now try to do this entire part. That's the entire part. That section is pretty difficult actually. Yeah, this part has a lot of choke points, and now we are entering probably the hardest part of the level. What you do is, you don't have to click anything here, look. You just slide from the slope, and click the blue orb late and then hold down the button. For the pink dash orb, which you cannot click it as early as you can, because if you buffer it, you will like somehow clip into the spike. So like click it after you can buffer. Late, early, but not a buffer click early. You buffer click this, you just fall from the platform buffer click. You can buffer click the blue orb, but you cannot buffer click the green orb. Buffer, and then click it in the middle. Like if you try to buffer the two, this is what happens. Same thing here, you cannot do a buffer click on this. You just go in the middle, and then this UFO followed by this wave is hard. All of the timings here are in the middle, but it's going really fast. So yeah, you do the same thing as I explained for pretty much like 95% of this level. All of the timings are in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here, there's a bit of a trick for this transition, because you could just click the green orb like that and then do an extra click like that, but you can skip that extra click by holding from the portal. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold into the wave portal, and then you're going to avoid that extra click. And now the wave itself is another wave part where I don't have any actual tips. You just have to play it yourself to get consistent with. The only tip I have for this yellow portal, if you go early into it, you will hit the spike. So you aim to hit it late. Like this can happen if you go too early. It's rare to happen, but it does happen. Yeah, it does happen occasionally. So you go late into the portal, and then you have to do another click. That's the only tip I can give you for this. Just click late for the click before the portal. Everything else here is totally skill based, and then you hold all the way through into the cube portal. You just hold all the way through, and then you buffer and hold on the next section. This part is not that hard, but there is quite a few clicks, so you have to be clicking a lot here. Hold, 2 holds. This section is interesting. You could buffer the first click, although I don't recommend that, because sometimes you can just get launched too early from the portal and you will click the first spike. So just ever so slightly after the buffer click. Boom, boom, boom. 3, the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Now let's try to do all in one go. Definitely one of the hardest parts of the level, especially that wave part. It's going fast and you have to do a lot of clicks. And then the last part of the drop, the first click again, middle click, the yellow orb, same thing. So 2 middle clicks like that. And this black orb, I don't know why, I always found this black orb to be absolutely impossible. So you have to actually go very late into it. Like if you go early and still pass the portal, you will hit that spike. So late and then hold all the way through here. If you try to do individual inputs, you usually won't have enough height to go for another section. So hold all the way through and then buffer the block orb. Late, hold, buffer these two. This part is actually pretty easy. All you do is you click this kinda late. You don't have to go too late. And then buffer these 3 timings. So late and buffer these 3 clicks. And same thing here, you can buffer these 3 clicks. So the ending of this part is actually pretty easy. The middle of this is hard. This is last choke point before the ending. This ball click is hard, especially because there are moving objects, so it can throw you off really easily. There isn't any visual cue you can use. This section, you can press these as early as you want. So boom, 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 boom. See, I'm buffering all of the clicks and it's actually working perfectly fine. Alright, now let's do this in one go. And that's the ending of the drop. That part has like 3 clicks that you can die to. It's kinda annoying. It does get surprisingly consistent. Like if you know how to pass the black orb into the hold, it will get consistent. Now the last part of the level, the infamous ending, which is, yeah, one of the hardest parts as well. Actually what you do is you connect the previous section with the beginning of this. So you hold into the cube, look. 1, 2, 3, and then you start holding, and you don't have to just do extra clicks or anything like that. Okay, so this part is kinda annoying because you could clip into the wall like that, but if you go too late on the pink dash orb, you're going to be too far and you're going to hit the black spike. So do all of that kinda in the middle. Like I don't recommend buffering this pink dash orb, but if you go too late on it, Yeah, that's what will happen. So go kinda in the middle for both, and then hold right after the pink orb. This very beginning of the last section is really inconsistent, and if you die there, if you die to the ending, it's most likely going to be that, or the very end, which we'll get to in a second. You cannot buffer the pink orb either. Like, if you buffer the pink orb, you will hit the spike. So you have to click it as soon after you pass the mini spike. So like here, and then hold down the button. This part is hard, but it's definitely more reasonable because the transition is way better than the transition into the dash orb. You cannot go too early because you have to be outside from the block for this green orb to work. You fall from the block, and you can buffer this click, which is pretty nice. You can buffer it, and then okay, so you go click this in the middle, and now this timing, there aren't any visual cues. You just have to get good at it. It's a hard timing, it's a rough timing. And this green orb is annoying as hell. So how it actually works is you have to be close to this black outline for it to happen, because if you go directly past the spikes, you're going to be way too high. This should be your visual cue, like right around here you let go. You pretty much let go on the green orb, but the green orb is above the pink dash orb. So you let go here, and then you buffer the green orb. This dash orb release is so hard. So how this works is if you click the yellow pad too late and you click this dash orb late, you're going to hit the spike. If you are too early and you are going to buffer it, you're going to hit that. So you have to click it in the middle. A good thing about it is that it will stop your momentum once you click it. And by the way, don't hold this, just click it. So just click this dash orb in the middle, and then you have to do another click, obviously. So you buffer the blue orb, and then go in the middle, and then do another middle click. Middle buffer, middle, middle. You can do this part in two ways. If you buffer like here, right before the pink pad, you can totally avoid all of the two orbs before. Although that's very risky, because if you click it here, you will always click the blue orb. The only way this is going to work is if you fall from the platform and then buffer click. The way I prefer doing it is after the dash orb, buffer all of these clicks. It's like 2 more clicks of work, but it perhaps would save you from dying at the very end. Buffer, buffer, buffer. It's very easy actually. This part is super easy. And now the very end. This UFO and the robot are hard. Yeah, this is a skill-based part again. Into the portal and then click 2 middle clicks, and then you have a lot of time. And you click the dash orb actually fairly late. You don't want to click it too early because there's again a mini spike. So once again, middle, middle, late. You could only press the dash orb. You don't have to necessarily hold it, which is honestly going to be more helpful. And then these 2 orbs are actually pretty easy. You just kinda click in the middle. Now let's try to do this in full. That part, it has a lot of super difficult timings. It's quite ironically the hardest part of the level. The beginning of this part is like super easy. Middle, middle, and then buffer these 2 clicks. That's it. This is super easy. You also buffer this one. You just do a max height jump with the robot, and then hold into the blue pad. Middle, middle, buffer, 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 max height jump. Like a mini click on the platform, and then do a middle click. Not only do you have to press this yellow orb actually very, very late, but you have this trolley-ass ending triple spike. Late, and then, by the way, buffer the green dasher. Let go in the middle, and the very end you can do in 2 ways. You can hold from the blue orb, but you could also do 1, 2, 3, 4. It's again a preference thing. I actually prefer holding, because if you hold, you will be able to buffer the green orb as well. So once again, late buffer, middle, and then hold into that. That's the entirety of Accu actually. Anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, even though yeah, it's kinda, I wouldn't say bare bones, because this level is, as I said, is pretty straightforward. It isn't like a memory level. There's only a few tricks and visual cues, but most of the time it's just middle clicking, a lot of buffer clicks. kinda a theme with these really easy extreme demons. I still hope it helps some of you if you want to beat this level. Next time, actually let me know if you want to see another extreme demon tutorial, or for example a tutorial for something easier like Clubstep, or like how to beat extreme demons in general. I am all ears for the suggestions, and I will see you next time. Have a great day everyone, and goodbye.